So in Xinjiang, China is attempting a foul soft power display. But in the South China Sea, there is no such pretense. It's Piracy 101. Illegal military drills, an armada of so-called fishermen, and open threats of annexation. China is a bully. What do you do to defeat a bully? You stand up to them. Is the world doing that? Not enough. For years, world powers have looked the other way. America ignored the Chinese threat, so did Europe, and now they're scrambling to respond effectively. But it doesn't take military power or economic might to stand up. The first thing you need is conviction. And that's the story we're telling you tonight, the story of what conviction can do. Take a look at this map. The sprawling expanse in red is mainland China. Now turn to the tiny speck on the ocean below. Do you see it? That's Palau. It's one of the smallest countries in the world, a union of 500 islands, population less than 21,000. China's smallest cities are bigger than the country of Palau. But what it lacks in numbers and military, it makes up with courage, and bucket loads of it. This country recognizes Taiwan, not the People's Republic. Last month, the island's president, Surangal Whips, visited Taiwan. Traveling with him was the American envoy. One thing's for sure, Palau's president knows how to get under Beijing's skin. This is a leader who's refusing to be bullied by China, and he's walking the talk. Most countries would rush to pick up calls from Chinese officials, not President Whips. He sends Beijing straight to voicemail.
Contact me before the elections, but after the elections, I have not taken their calls. Partly just by the way their attitude is. You know, we're a peaceful country. But I give you an example. They have my number. They had my number, so they called me on my cell phone, and I was in the middle of a meeting, but I watched it. It rung 16 times.
The president says China has an attitude problem. We couldn't agree more. China thinks the Pacific Islands are outposts of its maritime empire, but they are not. They are sovereign nations, free to chart their own foreign policy. Today, just 15 countries in the whole world recognize Taiwan, and Palau is one of them, one of the only 15. China is using every dirty trick to turn Palau. It is squeezing the island financially. Chinese tourists are not allowed to visit the island anymore. So a big source of income has disappeared. But President Whips is undeterred. And this is something Palau shares with Taiwan, a dogged spirit, a steely resolve to oppose China. And the way things are going, Taiwan might have to dig deep into that resolve very soon. A Chinese carrier ship is currently sailing in Taiwanese waters. It is part of a Navy drill, the first of many according to Beijing. The threat of an invasion is real, and Taiwan is preparing to mount a defense. Later this month, they will kick off a unique military drill. Here's what they plan to do. Use computer simulations to mimic a Chinese attack. For 8 days, they will navigate these simulations to shore up the island's defenses. Beijing thinks it can wrap up an invasion within weeks, a classic case of military god complex. But it is underestimating Taiwan's resolve. The foreign minister says his country is ready for a fight to the end.
Our defense ministry is very determined in defending ourselves. We are willing to defend ourselves, and it's without any question. And we will fight the war if we need to fight the war. And if we need to, to defend ourselves to the very last day, we will defend ourselves to the very last day.
It is time the world joined this fight, not half-heartedly, but with full conviction. The onus is on regional leaders, countries like Japan. Tokyo is yet to join American sanctions against China. What's stopping it? Just a few days back, Chinese vessels sailed near the Okinawa island, and this is Japan's turf, its sovereign territory. There are more than a dozen island nations in the Pacific, and they prize their freedom over Chinese money. What they need is the more powerful countries to lead the way. States like Australia, the Philippines, and Japan. Alone, these countries are open to Chinese designs, but together, they can counter Beijing. The first step is to find a common ground to respond. The Olympics boycott would be a great start, we say. If the Pacific nations join the boycott, it would be an indictment of Chinese expansionism. It would lend more credibility to the anti-China alliance. The 2008 Olympics was China's arrival on the world stage. It seems apt that another Olympics would signal its downfall, because in the intervening period, China has revealed its true colors. And to all those countries still undecided, remember this: the dragon may fly, it may also breathe fire, but it cannot swim. The high seas is where the dragon is slain. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.